Okay, so now we're going to make the filling. The filling can be really tricky trying to make it without any real powdered sugar, but we're going to give it a go. You just kind of have to watch it, see what it needs, and add things if you notice it needs them. Okay, so this is a 1/4 cup of vegetable shortening, and this is a 1/4 cup margarine. Again, if you have no dairy concerns, go ahead and use butter. Makes no difference really. And so this is 1 cup of powdered xylitol. They don't sell powdered xylitol. You need to powder it yourself. I used a coffee grinder actually, and it works really well. You can also use a food processor will work. I would recommend that you sift it into the mixture because it does clump really easily, especially if you let it sit for even a second. It'll get really big clumps and it's really hard to get them out. So I would go ahead and just do it this way and just sift it into your mixture. So the recipe itself calls for 2 cups powdered sugar, and we're going to do a couple different things to get it up to 2 cups. So we've got 1 cup powdered xylitol without the lumps. And the next thing we're going to do is about 1/2 cup of regular Just Like sugar. Now again, the problem with Just Like sugar is that it really can make things a funny texture. So you don't want to use too much of it in any recipe, especially in something that isn't cooked. So if you're making icing, it seems very tempting to just use Just Like sugar because it's so powdery. It's exactly the consistency of powdered sugar. But it will really, it'll make it like, I don't know, it'll make it sort of like this sticky thing, and it makes it stick to your teeth, and it's just a very uncomfortable texture. So those 2 things together, they should give us a pretty good texture. I'm gonna beat it, and then I'm gonna add the vanilla flavoring in a second. Okay, so now we've beaten it. We're just gonna add 2 teaspoons vanilla. You can do more or less vanilla depending on what your tastes are. And you can kind of tell that this consistency is already kind of wrong. And we're just gonna add almond milk until it looks good. We'll beat this in first. So now you can see it's kind of lumpy, but it's very thick, which is good because that's getting very close to the real consistency of what you would find in Oreos from the store, so we like that. Here we missed some of this stuff at the bottom. And now this kind of just depends on your own personal taste. If you want a really thick center, closer to what they have in the store, then you can stick with this consistency. This is fine, this will taste great. If you want it to be maybe a little fluffier, maybe something closer to what you usually find in homemade recipes, then you can add some almond milk. And yes, it will make it taste like almonds, so beware of that if you're using almond milk instead of regular milk. Let's take a taste and see what we think. That's perfect. I think that'll be good without any almond milk. I don't need it to be fluffier. I like it to be like it is in the store. So, and notice that we only used about, you know, 1.5 cups of sweetener instead of the 2 cups that was called for in a normal Oreo filling recipe. But I think it's okay. You don't need it to be so overpoweringly sweet because the cookies are good enough and the texture is good. and if you put any more just like sugar in it, it'll be way too thick. So part of the reason that calls for 2 cups sugar is because the consistency of regular powdered sugar doesn't get it as thick as fast as the sweeteners we were using. So I think this is okay. All right, and once our cookies come out of the oven, we're gonna put this in the middle and we'll have homemade Oreo cookies.